If you're interested in doing what we do and driving one of these trucks for a living, reach out to Hyfield Trucking at the link and phone number in the video description. Let them know Truck and Travel sent you. Come on. What is going on, guys? Welcome to Truck and Travel. I'm Derek. Today I wanted to do a video a little bit different. It's been kind of weighing on my heart for a long time. I wanted to do a video that was RV transport versus expediting. I wanted to do both because I've done both, and I've done at least 100,000 miles in both of them. A lot of people that are going into retirement, sometimes they like to do this as a retirement gig, as a way to travel, and then there's some that are trying to do it for a living. I'm not saying you can't do that, it's just you got to kind of rough it, and you can only make so much money legally. You know what I mean? If you're going to do it by the book and you're logging your empty miles on RV transport, you're only going to be able to make so much money. You're limited. It's rarely attracting for people that are non-CDL drivers that don't have a CDL. It's like an entry level into trucking. That's why I did it. I was scared to get my CDL. Just my personal opinions and experience, I would say I highly recommend getting a CDL if possible. I know you got to take classes now, go to some kind of school, but if you find the right trucking company, I'm sure that they got their own school and whatnot. The thing about RV transport is you gotta be an owner operator, so you have the cost of the vehicle, and then you got the depreciation of the vehicle. You got to pay for your fuel, insurance. It's just, you got to normally pay for a vehicle, and not doing a job, any job you do, you gotta pay for a vehicle if you have one, and insurance. I get that, but the depreciation ain't gonna go down so crazy. I mean, you might do like 50 to 100,000 miles a year in trucking. So I mean, just imagine the value of your pickup truck going down. Most of these trucking companies want you to get a vehicle that's at least so new, and it's got to be a diesel. And these diesel trucks have big price tags on them, and then they got the DEF systems that might go out on you. That's kind of a problem sometimes. The maintenance needs to happen more often than a big rig, so you got more downtime from that. Usually the people that are successful in RV transport are the ones that can do it on a dime, to where they got things figured out. They're even good mechanically with trucks. They change their own oil. They don't eat out all the time. You might see them, eating cheaply. You know what I mean? I'm sure they cook their own food. You know what I mean? Go to Walmart, cook their own food. There's people in trucking that do the same thing too, but you're on a tight budget. And the reason why I say you're on a tighter budget is, you got the cost of your own vehicle you got to cover. But the main problem I have with RV transport is you have a load going out, and 90% of the time you have nothing coming back in, and it also depends on where you live. So I live in Northwest Ohio, and the places that I was leased to for RV transport is in Goshen, those kind of areas in Indiana, that general part. So it'd be northeast Indiana, I want to say, or northern Indiana, one of the two. That's your starting point. So you got deadhead from home. When I say deadhead, I mean drive empty with no pay to Indiana, pick up your run that goes to point B. We'll call it Bath, New York. I remember that was a location I would deliver to a lot. So after you drop off in Bath, New York, you gotta drive empty all the way back to Indiana. Chances are I would not get a load. I never got a load from New York anyways. Coming back, very few times did I ever have a load after dropping off a camper. I'd have to drive all the way back to Goshen, Indiana to get another camper. And the loads at the time were paying like $1.35 per mile. Run miles only. When I mean run miles, I mean picking up in Indiana and dropping it off at the RV dealer. That's a run mile. So If you got to, in trucking, you got to figure out your deadhead miles, your empty miles too, so that drops your pay down. Let's say that you were driving, you go pick up 100 miles away in Indiana, then you got to drive 500 miles to destination, then you got to drive another 500 miles back to your destination. You didn't do 500 miles there, you did 1,100 miles. And that just really hurts your pay. And of course, you're going to do that multiple times without going home, so that way your pay stays up, because if you go home, you go out of your way, and that just destroys your pay anyway. I mean, in trucking, you're going to want to stay out for a while anyways. It's ideal to stay out for at least, 3 weeks to 3 months at a time in trucking. So that goes for RV transport as well. So let's say, RV transport's paying $2. I think it's normally, like, for a bumper pull trailer, like that you hook up to your hitch there, you're looking at probably like $1.85 per run miles. So just imagine what that looks like once you go out to a destination that's 500 miles away, then you deadhead 500 back. If you don't include when you came from home to this place, it's half of $1.85. That just stinks. And then you got the fuel. Your truck's probably going to average about, 10 to 12 miles per gallon per empty and loaded, maybe 12 all around. I think that's what my truck did. Got a 2017 F350 dually, and I'm pretty sure it averaged around 12 miles per gallon round trip. Some of these RV transporters will limit your speed to 65 miles per hour or 70. It just depends. I know usually they have a speed limit while you're loaded, and then if it's pretty windy out, about 35 or 30 miles per hour, they want you to park it, because these babies can tip over really easily, and you got to sleep inside the truck. So that's a problem I have with RV transport. It's a rougher gig. There's some people that will take your back seat out. I did that, and then make your own little bed. There's some people who even take out your passenger seat over here and make a bed here, and make a awesome setup back here with a refrigerator or like a computer stand, and then have a TV. I've seen that before. That's pretty cool. The one beef I have with that is you can't stand up in here. That's pretty cool if you wanted to be an owner operator entry level. That's cool, but usually these trucks break down more often than big rigs. I know there's some people that would probably hate me for saying that, but that's my opinion. This truck's transmission went out around 233,000 miles. I had another F350, and I know you're going to say, well, it's a Ford. I see all the trucks on the side of the road. I had another F350. The turbo went out around 140,000 miles. So not a cheap fix. You figure these are big breakdowns, you know what I mean? They're might not be as expensive as a big rig, but the transmission on this to have rebuilt, I want to say, was around $7,000, not including labor. And then the turbo, I want to say, was like $3,000, and that was before inflation. So there's that. And now we go to not RV transport. We've done that. Now we go to expediting. If I had to choose between the two, I absolutely loved expediting. Me and my wife were team drivers in it. You could team drive an RV transport, but since we do not have a sleeper on this pickup truck, the second driver is limited to how many miles they could drive, because they're sitting in the passenger seat with you and you don't have a sleeper. So they can't have 10 hours off time in the sleeper. Driver one might have 11 hours driving, then driver two, I think, is limited to 2 hours driving, or 3. I don't remember, but pretty sure that's how it was years ago. I could be wrong. Maybe I was doing it wrong. Who knows? But since in expediting, you have a big, gigantic sleeper most of the time. The trucks at Hyfield are big, gigantic. Some of them have bathrooms in it. All of them have kitchens, TVs, refrigerators, and a stove. Unless I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. But from my understanding, that's how they're set up. You can stand up in them comfortably. In our expediting truck, we didn't have a bathroom but we had a big closet. So what we did was we bought a portable camping bathroom or toilet, whatever you want to call it. And what we did was, when we weren't using it, we put it in that closet so that way it doesn't fall over and it's out of the way. So we just didn't use the closet. We only used it to hold that, so it had a purpose. So that worked out for us. I'm sure other people have other things they do like that, but that's what worked for us. The pay is a lot better in expediting, and if you drive for Hyfield, you have like a 40-60 split where the team gets 40% of what the truck grosses. I know what you're thinking, well, you're not going to make as much money because they took a cut. Well, you do. You make a lot of money. And you don't have the expenses of the breakdowns or the maintenance, anything like that. I actually made more money as a team driver in a fleet owner's truck of one of these expediting trucks than I did owning my own pickup truck doing RV transport. It's a really tough gig, and I'll say this, and because I talked about it earlier. Some people like to go to RV transport as retirement, and it's like their way to travel. Well, I'm going to tell you something. We met a couple that was in their 70s doing expediting. They're doing DOD loads. You know, those are government loads. So you gotta, potentially move some stuff you need clearance for. It's high-paying stuff there. We didn't have that clearance, but if we would have, we'd probably been going across the country a lot more, which is awesome. It's a lot easier to go across the country than these short runs. I think it's easier to sleep. That's beside the point. The oldest driver I met doing expediting that was driving a FedEx custom critical truck, like what we do, 92 years old. It's amazing. Very impressed. It made me not want to complain about anything on the road because that guy's an Iron Man. It's really awesome in FedEx Custom Critical. I don't know how these other, carriers work, but what I really loved was you have a load board. It's FedEx's, of course. You have the opportunity to pick your own loads, determine where you go, when you go, and sometimes there's load opportunities to where you can counter offer. Some people just take stuff straight off the load board. That's their choice, but most of the time we waited for something to hit the C-Link, which is the little ELD, which is like the logbook that's computerized, and it's the computer in the truck, and FedEx uses it to interact with us. Anyways, they'll send out load opportunities, which is loads off the load board that they want taken right away, or it's just something they couldn't find, couldn't find a team to take it off the load board, so now they're sending it out, hoping somebody will take it. And then you can take the chance right there to counter it and say, I won't do it for your price, but I will do it for this. You are competing against other trucks, but that gives you the ability to make more money. Now, not long ago, me and Cinnamon, it's not always like this. It's a hit or miss type situation. But not long ago, me and Cinnamon had a load that was going from the Columbus area to the Pittsburgh area. It was a reefer run. That's another thing. These trucks are reefers, so that's another tool. You know what I mean? We did White Glove. That's the division of FedEx Custom Critical we were in, White Glove. We had to have to do secure loads, reefer runs, art loads. I mean, there's a lot of interesting things you'll haul. But the load I'm talking about, I'll go back to that. It was Columbus, Ohio area to Pittsburgh area. They sent it to our C-Link, because they couldn't find somebody to take it. They sent it to us and some other drivers. We said we won't do it for that price. I think they sent it for like $900 and some dollars. I could be wrong. But we told them $2,000. And we sent that message and we waited and we waited. And then finally, after a while, FedEx sends us a message saying, you know, what their counter was to our counter. So basically FedEx is saying, I won't pay you that, but we're willing to pay this. And they came back with $1,500. And at that point, you know, you can either accept that, or you can say no, or you can say, no, I'll do it for this. And so what I did was, because my wife's back's hurting, and if we're gonna take this load, I wanna make it worth it. Normally I'd take it cheaper, but I thought, you know what, we're just gonna throw a Hail Mary and try it. I said, nope, I'll do it for $2,000. After a while we waited, they came back, said $1,500, so I said again $2,000. And then FedEx accepted it. So we came from our home to southern Columbus, Ohio area, which is about 125 miles away roughly, and then took it to the Pittsburgh area, and then we deadheaded all the way home. I don't remember what all the miles were, but I'm pretty sure it was above $3 per all miles. That includes picking it up, taking it there, and going home. I'd say that's pretty freaking awesome. I don't know what the run miles was. I don't pay attention to what the run miles is because that's really not important to me. It's easier to keep a grasp of how you're doing overall if you have the pay per all miles. I don't know. I would try to stay above a certain amount. I would try to stay above $2 per all miles, and that goes for certain times. And at the current time of this video, that's what I was trying to do. That was my goal. And then when you want to go home at that point, whether it's at that 3 weeks or that 3 months, the higher it is, the better it is. So you figure out, compare the two, the RV transport and the expediting, you know. What do you think is the better pay? What is more comfortable to live in? What is better? You know what I mean? You're not going to go in debt driving somebody else's truck because you're not paying the maintenance or the fuel or the tolls. Just depends on where you're at. Maybe some make you pay for the tolls, I don't know. But I know with Hyfield, you definitely don't pay for fuel and you don't pay for the maintenance, which is amazing. Like I said, we made more money driving somebody else's truck than we did in RV transport. I know this wasn't a real entertaining video, but I hope this helps out somebody. There's somebody out there looking for a career in driving. This is a great way to see the country. This helped me and my wife see 47 states in America. Seen a lot of cool stuff together, had a lot of good times. I want to say our favorite place, one of them is Arizona. It's just so drastically different from Ohio. And it's nice to have nicer weather in the wintertime or the colder times that it is in Ohio. Oh, try to dodge, you know, bad weather in one part of the country and go to somewhere nice. That's cool too. That was one of my things. I try to avoid snow as much as I could. Doesn't always happen. But if you guys are interested, check it out, Hyfield. Link is in the description. Let them know Trucker Travel sent you. God bless you guys. We'll see you next time.